Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode. And today I'm very excited because, as the first guest of our podcast, we have Mr. Chris Nurse, who has done almost everything in the tech. He started by building the recording system for the actual fighter jets for NASA and the UK military. Then he built the tech behind autonomous mining trucks for BHP. He is the CIO of Children Health Research Centre in Australia also, and he is among the top 50 CIOs in the world. He built his startup in the Spain and later he solved that. And now after 30 years, he has mentored approx like 60 plus developers, and he is continuously helping whoever is coming to him. And he is a great leadership perspective right now. And after so many years of work, he is not slowing down. He has started a new AI company again called mAIcro. We would discuss about mAIcro also. So now I would not talk further. I would let Chris introduce and talk further. Hi Chris, how are you?
Very well, Noman. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'll just take a very brief moment just to thank everybody that participated in that career of so many years, whether it was, the NASA job with the fighter jets or Telethon Kids Institute or working at BHP. The thing that's got me here today is people's belief in me, people's patience and generosity.
Okay, so Chris, you have such a long career and you build different ventures and you solved it. You were in the defense sector also. Then you get associated with the Children Health Research Center, right? So you wear many of the hats. So what is the one thing that keeps you motivated throughout this tenure?
Yeah, I think mission. There's a personal mission or an inspiring mission that somebody else has. So my mission, I just see it is to solve problems that hopefully make a difference. They have a positive impact on the world. Now, if I can't come up with an idea that does that and somebody else can, I'm all in. If somebody says, hey, we've got this problem, we think we've got a solution, we don't know how to build it, or maybe we're building it, it's not working out, we need some help, then if it's for the greater good, that's incredibly appealing to me.
Yeah, because when I was going through with your LinkedIn profile, you have built many of the ventures, right? You build one company, sold then another and all. So don't you get tired up or like you become addictive to it?
No, do you know what? Many years ago, somebody gave me some, uh, not really advice. It was almost like a cliche, but it's this simple: know when you're done. So, in other words, if you go into a role to do a job, when that job is done, know that you're done. Don't wait for somebody to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, we don't need you anymore." You know, always have an opportunities and so on. So, kind of, I think, people might think, oh, he's jumped around, he's set this thing up, he sold that thing, he's got this other thing going. It really is just a natural progression. Literally, I can be sat doing nothing on a Saturday morning, then an old friend from years ago calls me, says, hey, I've got a problem, can you help me? And then we're off to the races.
Yeah, and now I would require two advices from you, okay? And
Okay.
two advices are for the developers. But first advice, what you would give, the biggest advice you would give to somebody who is just starting his career into the
Uh,
field of software development. And the
yeah.
another advice, what you would give to the someone who is already stabilized, who is a senior guy, who is a senior developer, or who is a team lead, right? So
Yeah.
how you would address to them? What gold tip you would give to them
Yeah. Let's start with somebody,
who is
you know,
starting?
kind of junior, yeah,
Yeah,
and it could be, as you and I have talked before when we've been chatting, mentoring
yeah,
intern things, and you can see this worry that people just at the very early stages of their career are getting worried Should they have been a doctor rather than a developer? Because AI is not going to take doctors' jobs, right? Um, the tip, the advice is this: it's learn to speak like the business person in the organization that you're working with. If somebody says, "Hey, I've got a problem," listen to how they describe that problem, say the solution back in similar words. Don't say Postgres, don't say GraphQL, don't say AI graphs and agentic harnesses, because I don't know, actually. I was about to say nobody cares. They care, but they just don't know what any of that stuff means. So, by all means, build the technology skills, but build the communication skills and understand how to communicate effectively
Yeah.
with people
So
around you.
as far as I understood, most important thing for a junior developer is to translate the user's requirement first, to understand the user's requirement, and later on go into the tech part, right? To
Yeah,
understand, to stay in the shoes of that person and see the perspective what he is seeing right now, right? And then try to translate into the technical terms and then try to build it, right? And this is the same mistake I also made, but later on I got corrected and I started seeing the results. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about AI, maybe a CEO comes to you and says, "Our users are complaining that it takes too long to fill out all of these forms that we give in our customers." Let's say it's customers, not users. So we want new customers. We ask that they fill out all these forms. It's just hard. So then, as a junior developer, I might say, "Oh, wow, we could use Claude Code. We can use large language models." And then the CEO goes, "You're not speaking my language." But if we said, well, why don't we get the person to give us some other types of documents? AI can extract information from those documents that we can use to fill in the form for the user, then connect them with our sales team or customer support team. I haven't said LLMs, I haven't said hallucination, I haven't said vector embeddings. So yeah, absolutely. I think that is the key thing is take time and listen. You already have all the technologies. Don't worry about that because they'll all be different in 6 months' time anyway.
yeah.
So
Don't
not
jump directly to the technologies.
yeah, yeah. Don't worry about the tech. It's always going to change. What's not going to change is you have to be a good listener, a good communicator.
Okay, that is a gold tip for anyone who is just starting or who just started, right? And
Good.
what about the guys who are on the senior level? Like, what leadership lesson you would give to them as
Yeah.
per your experience?
So I think the times when I've been involved in mentoring juniors, I've also been working with some very, very senior developers and obviously executives and so on. Um, I think we really just have to say to the senior people, remember you are to nurture, to support, to help these junior people grow. Because for sure, somebody did that for you at some point,
Definitely.
even if you don't know, even if you don't remember, I'll bet you $10 that they somebody's helped you in the background. That's what's got you to where you are today. That takes patience, and it also takes a kind of a sense of detachment. You know, I don't know if you do this. I'm pretty sure I do this. I like people to know I'm a clever guy. I know this new technology. I've read this new
Yeah,
AI. I've built this new AI thing. That's just showing everybody else how clever I am. It's not helping anybody really grow. It's not changing their day-to-day experience. It's not helping their career advance. It's not helping them through difficult times, through challenges. So as a senior person, if you are, the nurturing, supportive, collaborative type of person, then imagine the view from the executive down, that you are helping grow talent, build value, retain talent. I imagine training these junior people for 3 years, and
okay.
then these grumpy senior people upset them, and then they just leave. What a waste, you
Yeah.
know?
So, for the seniors, I think they need to like give freedom to the juniors, but as soon as always stand up as a back on them, right? Like
Yeah,
you are free to do that. If anything goes wrong, I will be here to backing you up. I will be
yeah.
here to holding you. I will not let you fall down. Then
Like
that
what
would take the best out of them, right?
exactly what senior developer was born a senior developer? You know, it's not like we
No.
come out into the world and suddenly we tap on a keyboard and genius things happen, you know.
Yeah.
So remember yourself when you were, you know, you were back there. Be patient, and as you rightly say, be ready to catch somebody. You know, let
When
them
he's going to fall.
challenging. Yeah, catch them, help them, prevent them from falling.
Okay, thank you so much, Krish. Chris, this advice is going to help a lot of senior developers like me, and I personally is going to take this advice forward in my career.
Good.
And Chris, as you have built lots of ventures and you work as a developer also for different organization. So there are many guys who are working as a backend engineer or an AI engineer right now, right? And they want to build something of their own. They want to build something like something which people use and which can give them a money also, right? So along with their full-time job, can they build it, or what advice you would give to them, or is it necessary? Like this question I get from lots of my friends, that is it necessary for them to leave their full-time job in order for them to build something good or build something of their own?
Yeah. Um, let's start at the end and go backwards. So, is it necessary to leave a job in order for you to start your own? You know, some people call it a side hustle, whatever it is, but you know, there's a passion within that person. They have an idea and they want to build it, to pursue it. Yeah. Um, it is very difficult. It's not impossible to do two things. You know, like right now, I work with an amazing aged care organization based over in Sydney. I'm in Perth. That's just a few days a week. The rest of the time, I'm building micro. That's easy to balance, but there's also a great deal of clarity that what I do here does not belong to that organization, and what I do for them does belong to them. I
Yeah,
can't, you know, wonderful.
conflict of interest should be taken care of.
Absolutely, but it's conflict of interest, but it's really ownership of intellectual property.
Yeah,
And I've um, ended a relationship with a consulting organization many years ago, gone on to build something which would think about, you know, kind of would think of it as almost like the cloud today, using VMware and some kind of script, and it creates you a SQL server in seconds. This work was done way after I'd even stopped working with this consultancy, but I got a legal letter saying that's our IP, you know, misappropriated it, and I ended up having to school their lawyer to
okay,
correct all
okay.
of the assumptions, you know. But so that it's the risk. So it's better if you went to make burgers and pizzas as a developer, because there's no risk of anybody going, that's our idea, yeah, or you're distracted. And let me ask you the question kind of back, Noman. What if
Okay.
you're in a full-time job as a developer, then you come home and you develop something, you start to get customers, then tomorrow you go to work. What happens when these customers are trying to call you because something's broken, something's wrong, or they need a new feature? So it's very difficult to
Hmm.
that balance. Yeah,
To be honest, what I feel is right, like that you cannot ride two boats at the same time, right? You have to pick one boat and drive it carefully, right? So when you are building something, and when it is not operational, you can do your job, like, right? But
yeah,
once you have decided to went into the market and make it operational, and you have your clients onboarded, it doesn't matter if it is matching your salary or not. But
Mm.
if you are providing your services or your product or your platform to somebody, then
Yeah.
you should leave your job, like full-time job, and you should stay with that particular thing because somebody is going to call you anytime and you have to answer because you are taking a payment for that, right? And that is
Absolutely.
how you would build a trust. Like many of the developers around me and all, they think that we can do our job and we can build the product also, we can launch in the market and we would be become millionaire over the night. That is not going to happen, right? You have to use your time to build something, and once it is built and it become operational, then leave it, then give it full time to it.
I would say possibly that's
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
It's the challenge. In your 9 to 5 job, you're a developer, you build something, so you leave the full-time job to do your, dream
yeah,
project. You're not a developer anymore. You're
yes.
customer support, you're the CFO, you're
You wear
the
lots of hats.
absolutely, and you have so again, not impossible. We've both done it, right? But
Yeah,
be prepared because it's the dream, isn't it? Of I can just be a developer all day and I don't have a boss saying, do this
yeah,
crazy idea by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, so definitely you need to think, maybe start to even find advisors first. So before you make the decision, because if you make the decision, leave and then go do your side hustle, and then think, oh, I don't like this, it's probably going to be very difficult to go back to that
yeah,
job. So
yeah.
think about it very carefully, get some advice.
And one more thing I would like to ask you, Chris, because you have been building system from 80s or 90s, right? You have
Yeah,
all the experiences.
since
And
the
now you are, yeah, sorry?
since 1976.
Yeah, 1976. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you have seen that particular era, right? And you have seen the rise of Stack Overflow, and now you are building micro and you are using the LLM. So you have seen that side, you have seen that side, this side also. So what has changed for you? Like the one most important point that if you want to raise about that change, so what is changed for you like the most in all of these years?
I would say as a highly experienced developer, AI is very empowering. Like, I am a terrible builder of user interfaces, user experiences, because I'm, very technical, typically, backend guy or what we'd call a solutions architect. So I'm helping the execs describe the problem and think about the solution and so on. But when building micro, without AI, I wouldn't. I think it's got a pretty good. It's not a beautiful user interface, but it's
Yeah.
pretty good. Definitely good for demonstrations and helping people understand why should they care. So that's very different. Even let's say 3 years ago, so I've been using AI for 2 to 3 years heavily. Prior to that, I tried to learn or did learn, to use Vue. I didn't go down the React pathway like all my friends did. Vue somehow felt a bit simpler, so I got by, but it looked horrible. So that's a really significant change. Is just how empowering AI is
For
for
the
a
senior guys.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is damaging for the junior guys, right?
It
Why?
very much so.
Why? Because they can build the systems, they can build the software by giving the prompts and commands, right? But they are not able to understand now, right? And it is hampering their ability to logic and to reason. Just like take an example, before the inventions of mobile phones, right? We used to remember the numbers, contact
Yeah,
numbers, right? And now, at that point of time, apart from my father, mother, brother, and my wife's number, I don't remember any of the number, right?
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
th that
It's
kind of downgrade is happening right now. So for the junior guys, like they are using this thing and it is enabling them to do the more work and do some serious work and development, but it is somehow hampering them also in that logic building ability
yeah,
because right? When you started, you were not having the tools. Like, okay, I have one more question, right? Uh, I was always curious, like because you started in 1976, right? So in 1976, there was no Stack Overflow. Forget about AI. There was no Stack Overflow, right? So how you guys used to work then? Like
Yeah,
go through with the documentation, or like how? I was very curious
yeah.
about
I was very, very lucky that my dad, who's still
it.
with us, dad's 86 now. Um, he was an electronics genius. I think he wanted me to be. I think he hoped I would be an electronics guy as well. But every time I tried to build something, smoke would come out from it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the number of electric shocks that I've had, you wouldn't believe. But we used to sit down and buy computer magazines, and
Hmm.
the computer magazines had like the Space Invaders games or Colossal Cave Adventure games, things like this. So we literally had to teach ourselves. I also remember I want to say maybe early 20s, let's say. So I'd been in work a few years in the IT industry, but I wanted to write games, very graphical
Okay.
experiences. I had no idea how to do that, and I couldn't afford the books. So I had to go to the bookshop, read a bit of the book, run home, do a bit, go back to the bookshop,
Okay.
read a bit
So
more,
that was a different kind of struggle that
Absolutely.
we have not witnessed. So we are the generation who is more empowered, I guess, in the terms of resources. We are lucky.
Absolutely. Access to resources. Back
Yeah.
then, school, so even when I was probably, 14, 15, we had like a mainframe terminal. So the local government had the computer in the middle of the city. We had a
Hmm.
terminal. I don't actually remember ever using that. Some of my, friends at school did, but we had PET or Commodore business machines, computers. So, we definitely had a close knit, bunch of geeks. What are you coding and just kind of writing little projects at school. But my dad actually built a computer, so when I'd go home, I had this like 1 kilobyte of memory, Z80 processor, connected to a television as its monitor, and learning to use these hexadecimal
Oh,
to write Space Invaders.
yeah.
Yeah, access to resources very different to today, but
Hmm.
connection to people that share the passion is you kind of build that community. And how do you do this, how did you do that, or what are you
Yeah.
working? That was the same
I
just
think
as it.
community part we miss. After the introduction of LLM and all, we became independent. We all became independent. And that community part was with Stack Overflow. It was a great community.
Yeah.
Users used to post the questions. Everybody is going to answer, right? And
Mm,
somebody finds that one's
mm.
meaningful and then upvote. So we still need these kind of solutions. And one more thing, like this is the burning questions across the LinkedIn. I read lots of posts about it every single day. So I was thinking that I should ask you this question. Is AI going to take the job of developers?
Yeah, I don't think so. Especially, I mean, look, absolutely not the senior developers. Maybe it makes it harder for the junior developers, but I don't think that that's because of AI. It's because of the hype around it. So maybe the CEO, the CFO especially, is probably thinking, let's save some money, just spend a few $100 on AI, and these few developers that we've got, they can do everything. So, that's not a really well-founded way to build technology capability. So, it could make things more difficult, but not because the AI is capable of taking the jobs, but just that people believe it is. But if you don't have experienced people that understand technology but talk like business people, you're really not going to get anything done. If you're not an expert in all the different areas of building a solution, the business requirements, the legal compliance, the cyber security, and then you're going to be asking the wrong people to build a solution that's supposed to be legally compliant and cyber secure, shall we say.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. And one more thing, like you have, we are different hats, right? You work in the tech, and now you are also volunteering for a good cause. You are CIO in Children's Health Research Center. So,
Hmm.
if I would ask you that what keeps you motivated to join these cause and all, like because when we were conversing earlier in our one of our personal call, you mentioned that you take this title as more proudly and more love you have for this title of CIO for Children Health
Yeah,
Research Center instead of your titles of CEOs, CTOs, right? So, what is the reason behind it?
yeah. It just that it makes a difference. And you're working with amazing people, very challenging people. Imagine a renowned, or you're working in a research institute. There are renowned, globally famous research people working with you, and they have some very clear views on how they need their technology delivered. They're not always right, but they're pretty clear about what they need, how they need it, why they need it, and so on. So it was a very challenging role. The bar was very high, but the impact on society, improving health outcomes, improving our understanding of the health conditions of children. I mean, you imagine waking up one day and then going to work at a mining company, which drives an economy. That's great, and I've done it. And then one day you quit that job and then you go to a child health research institute,
Yeah.
and basically we fast forwarded the institute 25 years by upgrading all the technology in a project of about maybe 7 months. And the impact that had to empower the researchers to collaborate globally was just, to me, much more meaningful, much more of a social impact.
So it's
So,
all about the meaning of the impact. So the impact you made by working with NASA and UK military on the fighter jets, or the
mm,
impact you made by building your company and selling out in Spain, is lesser than the impact that you are making in the healthcare, right? Or
so
like you would feel more closely related to it.
different types of impact. One could have economic impact,
Mm-hmm.
and good economies, healthy economies, obviously help society. That also helps health outcomes and well-being and so on. But you arrive at work every day surrounded by these laboratories and genius people doing things I could never understand, see the benefits of it, but how do we get there? No idea. It's much more spiritually fulfilling, you know. And it's not, it wasn't a forever role. It's only about 2.5 years, so it's a moment in time, but to me it's a very important moment in my life, when we achieved a lot against some pretty impossible odds at times.
Okay. And you have mentored 60 plus developers, right? So, what is the main problem you found in them? Like in all of the 60 plus developers, what is the common problem you have found? Like what is lacking them behind and what you help them get rid of it?
Sure, yeah, it's not really a problem. It's just that we have to recognize with respect that they are at a junior stage of their career. They're not wrong, they're not lacking, they just
Mhm.
haven't had the opportunity. So the 60 interns that I mentored were all IT masters graduates. So clearly very intelligent people, also very culturally diverse from many, many different countries, with incredible English speaking skills, living away from all of their family, having to do all of their studies, all of their exams, and then work ridiculous hours, to earn a living, to pay rent, and so on. So these are juniors, but they've been taken away from home, or obviously chosen to live. It's not like they've been kidnapped or anything, but they are incredibly resourceful and resilient people. And I would say to anybody else out there that was thinking about an internship program, look at these junior developers or QA engineers, the different types of roles that I led these groups in. um, just take a moment to think about the life and what brought them to where they are, and see their qualities, if you like. So really the problem is not theirs, it's ours to solve, and that is to give them opportunities, let
Hmm.
them flourish.
So the problem lies on our end,
Yeah,
the senior guys' end, not on their end. Okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
If you can't attract great people, how are
Mhm.
you ever going to create great solutions and provide
We should give
great
them, yeah, we
customer?
should give them confidence and some freedom,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
that they can be more creative and be more productive.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Chris, one more thing I would like to ask you. This is my second last question of this podcast. So we have seen how drastically in last 4 to 5 years the day-to-day work of a software engineer has changed. The way of work has changed in the software engineering. So do you also feel that now it's time for the interview process of software engineers must
Mm,
be changed also? Because I have write down one post on LinkedIn and it went viral. I got lots of reactions and lots of comments on that thread also. That was based on my interview experience, where I was asked to write within 5 minutes some Python program, and I almost write it, but I forgot one syntax. And because of that, all of my 6 years of experience, my product building experience, my problem solving experience, everything went to zero. But right now, when we work with LLM, right? I'm not saying you have to be totally dependent on the LLM, but we have LLM, right? So synthetical knowledge is, I don't think it is much required. So how do you see that? What is the best way to evaluate a candidate in the interview in the given scenarios, like the scenarios we are going through? Because
yeah.
I feel it is outdated.
So to go back to that point earlier of all the different types of companies and organizations and teams that I've built and products that I've built, I I personally haven't been subjected to that kind of interview where you have to write code. And I think, don't take this the wrong way, I think that's because I've been hired by smart people. And what I learned from them was I want to hire a nice person, somebody I can get on with, somebody I can relate to, somebody I can rely on, somebody I can trust. I can't teach you any of those things, they're inherent in your values, but I can teach you to code. If you've got a syntax problem, I'll help you fix that in 5 seconds. So
Absolutely.
if everybody out there is hiring for technical capability over cultural fit, something is very wrong. And of course, we see a lot of these robotic processes, don't we? Go to this website, answer all these questions. Oh, really? If that's how you hire developers, you're going to hire robots.
Yeah.
You're not going to hire a team that will back each other, you know,
Hmm.
to the end.
So these skills we cannot teach them, right? To be
Mm.
a nice person, we can, right? But we
Maybe
can
time.
to work in a team environment, or to show the willingness to adapt, because our field is all about adaptability, because we are from a field who changes a lot, right? So we have to adapt every single change that is coming in our way, right?
Absolutely.
And for that
Yeah,
you need that willingness and that open mindedness, right? Open minded person.
absolutely. I mean,
If you
go back to
you can teach them how to write the code, right?
yeah, but go back to that example of the interns. You know, maybe they've never even written a complex, piece of code in a big organization, but they are so resilient. They are so patient. They are so self dependent, which means you can rely on them as well because you can't pull the rug under them. They're solid people. Um, so, if you're looking for genius coders and they're writing TypeScript, let's say you hire a really smart TypeScript person and they love TypeScript so much that when Rust comes along, the new trendy language, how many Rust developers are there? Sure, there's a
Yeah.
few, but not as many as Python, not as many as TypeScript. So you should be hiring people that are adaptable and resilient because the technology is always going to keep changing. And just one final thought, I'm no man on this as well, is what do you do one day? And this has happened in recent months. You wake up and the AI is not available.
Hmm.
So, sure, you made a syntax error that one day, probably the first time in months, if not years, right? You just have a moment, maybe under pressure. But if AI is not there, you'll still figure out the syntax error.
You need to figure out. You need to figure out, and that is kind of a skill every developer must have. Like before, like I would call it pre-LLM era. In pre-LLM era,
Yeah.
we had that skill. Like
Mm,
we all develop our software by using that skill to find the solution on the internet, to find
yeah,
the syntax. But I'm against of that timer. Like in 5 minutes, you have to solve this
yeah,
problem because
yeah,
many a time developer get nervous, they are not able to think properly about the correct approach, or
yeah,
they might miss some syntactical detailing and all. So judging on the basis of that, I'm totally against, but yeah, your
yeah.
point is valid.
It shows a complete lack of insight in the hiring manager, let's say. So,
Yeah,
and again, it just shows a complete lack of respect that all you've got to do is get through this machine.
yeah,
And by the way, it's not even just that, is it? Because we also see our friends on LinkedIn talking about having to go through 7 interviews. I mean, for goodness sake, if you can't make your mind up after 2 interviews, you really shouldn't be hiring people,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, definitely. So their template is not updated, what I would say to the hiring managers. Yeah.
Yes, something,
Uh,
I don't know what it is, but something's definitely wrong, and I'm not quite sure how
yeah.
to fix it, except
And
fire all the hirers.
yeah, it is an exciting discussion, Chris, and I want to ask you more questions, but I know you have limited time, and I would end this one by just asking that last question to you, what you are building in micro? Like, what is micro? It's all about, like, not going on to the technical side,
Yeah,
but on a user side, because I'm planning that maybe next upcoming episode we can have a demo of micro also. So what you
yeah.
are building at Micro?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to that skill that I said earlier, where a developer has to speak, say like a business person without talking about technology. Let's talk about what the challenge, what the problem, what the solution is. So we know there's been an explosion in low code, no code, for several years. Let's say maybe 4 or 5 years. So it's a very hot topic, and micro would easily fit into that landscape of low code, no code platforms. But how I'd like to describe it is really this: I'm a big believer in this saying, show me, don't tell me. So
Okay.
if you say to me, what is micro? Right now, I have to tell you because next time we'll do the demo, yeah?
Yes, yes, definitely.
But if you said, hey, I need to get a platform built to help a book club, there's lots of people shared interest. They love books, reading books, writing reviews. So I would want to show you the prototype rather than say, well, I need a database, I need React, or I need Vue, I need some kind of graph database to manage. You go, oh, I don't know what any of that means. So micro brings all of the building blocks to manage the data and the documents so you can build a prototype quickly and then show it to people and get feedback. So it's a
Okay.
really that kind of visual communication.
Okay. Yeah, that is really exciting then. And I can't wait to get a demo of the micro. Hopefully, it will be soon. So,
Hopefully, with the demo gods don't get us.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Chris, for giving us the time. And
Very
this
well.
was the first episode of this journey, and you made it really memorable for me. And we discussed lots of insights, and I would post this on LinkedIn, and let's see how we got the response. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chris, for enlightening us with all of this valuable experience.
It's been a pleasure, Noman, and great job, great questions, and hopefully the insights that we've revealed and shared are, as you say, valuable to everybody that's viewing this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much and have a nice weekend.
See you next time. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.